So I recently wrote a piece on blog about geometry and how it's evolved over the last 10 years using the specialised enduro as a case study. And I was looking at that one in particular because the enduro is, well, the name says it all really, it's supposed to be the founding father of that type of bike. And when you actually look at it, a lot of that geometry evolution, that kind of longer, lower, slacker, doesn't happen in the kind of simple way that you would expect or that you would presume based on what you've read in magazines. Or this year's model is longer, slacker, further reach, lower bottom bracket, you know, head angles are going from 67 to 65 over the course of 10 years, that sort of stuff. There's actually a lot more nuance than that. But it got me thinking about something else, which is with extreme geometry, who's that actually for as a rider? And if we can work out who that is, then I think we can start to understand why brands like Specialized aren't necessarily wanting to push that envelope, because it doesn't suit their business model and who their business caters for. This is kind of forming thought, so let me think this out loud. If you have a spectrum of riders whose skill set will be, and what they can ride, will be improved with a certain form of forward geometry, then that will apply to a portion of that spectrum. And it will improve some more than others. And some I'm thinking it would actually not improve that much. If you're a cross-country or a casual weekend rider or an occasional rider and you're suddenly given this, 140mm wheelbase, 63-degree head angle thing, and what you're used to is a 68, 69-degree head angle, 1100mm wheelbase bike, it's not going to work for you. You're not going to know how to ride that bike. It's going to have too much of a learning curve to get the most out of it. It's not going to benefit your riding in the same way. Likewise, if you're a racer though, if you're one of the top 5, top 2%, that'll give you a cutting edge. But Specialized in the big box brands, they're not necessarily selling to the top 1, 2%. You put Loch Rooney on any downhill bike and he's going to be bothering a podium. He doesn't necessarily, if you give him that geometry, that really forward, progressive, edge of the envelope stuff, sure it'll benefit him, but he's going to do well on anything. He's that kind of talented rider. Is it going to benefit your average dentist? Probably not. Is it going to feel like the last enduro they had? Most certainly not. So then they're trapped in having to make a bike that feels like a Specialized, feels like the last one, but is slightly better. And like if you look at the stump jumper, I was looking at this from my brother-in-law and I thought that was actually really interesting. When you look at the stump jumper, it'll ride well, the suspension platform will do its job and it'll be a very capable bike and it will feel like Specialized. But it's not necessarily the most progressive, but they're selling to a very broad spectrum of rider, aren't they? So they don't have to make something that fits that top 1, 2% race winning podium bobbers the best. They need to get the bell curve. They need to make a bike that suits them. So when I see kind of our companies, smaller brands being really experimental and really pushing forward geometry, look at things like Nikolai Geometron, BTR, Mondraker, tomato. Sue me in the comments. Sick. All these people really pushing that spectrum of where geometry is and handles. And there are other brands that are doing it as well to certain degrees, like White. Give them credit where credit's due. White have done it as well, to a certain extent. And riders that do well, and a bike that fits and suits them, will always do better. But if a bike doesn't feel like what they expect, then that's going to put them off. So does it pay to be that different? For some of the big boxers, I don't know if it does. I don't know for the big brands it pays to make something that is actually as forward-thinking as possible. They've got to do it in little increments. And if you look at the kind of the specialised, they can change it and then they can go back. Oh, we had the secret sauce right. Let's not fuck with the recipe. And these are just my thoughts and kind of musings on it, so, you know. I'm no industry insider by any stretch of imagination, but just, it's an interesting thought to ponder, isn't it? That actually they're not making the bike that's best for a certain situation, because they're trying to make it for as many situations as possible. So it's not the fastest bike, that's not their aim. They're trying to make a bike that feels like Specialized. That isn't necessarily a 65-degree head-angled 130 1300mm wheelbase bike. Because that won't feel like a Spesh. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let's have a bit of discussion about this. Yeah, interesting one for thought. Also, check out the blog post as well. I got a little bit of heat about that for not including all the numbers, but what's really interesting is when you look in the kind of the archive on Spesh, they don't list all the geo numbers all the time, because 12, 13 years ago, was anyone actually talking about reach? Did you mind about reach? Was it something that was on your radar? Probably not. It's not even listed in the specialised on geometry tables. Talk about head tube angle, talk about chain stays, talk about head angle. Not talking about reach 13, 14 years ago. But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. Let's have a chat about this. Right, it's late. I'm going to make a cup of tea before bed.